Would you say your name and then spell it to start with?
It's Jane Yantis, Janeyantis.
Good, thank you. And where were you born and when, if you want to tell me?
I was born in Center, Texas
When?
in 1920,
Oh, good.
March the 23rd, 1920.
So how did you get, you married someone who was involved in the Manhattan Project, right?
I married another Texan, and when we married, he went to Shreveport, Louisiana, and we were there just a few months when the war started, and he signed up that Monday after Sunday.
Yes, Pearl Harbor.
And they didn't call him until March of '42. From there, he went to the Air Force and completed that. Decided that he didn't want to be a pilot, so he just got discharged from that honorably. And then he was on the tarmac, ready to, with his backpack, ready to get on and be a bombardier or navigator, whichever they said. And they called about 6 or 8 other men, and he was one of them. And they took him in and told him that they were going to Amarillo. So we got on the train to Amarillo, and we had to stop in the middle of the night to catch another train. And there was no station, no lights, no anything. But we caught it. And when we got to Amarillo, he had to report in a certain time, and I had a ticket to go on to San Antonio. So we wasted time because he decided he wouldn't check in until I got on the train.
Yes.
So the minute I was on the train, then he checked in. And then he went from Amarillo to Stillwater, Oklahoma, from Stillwater, Oklahoma to Knoxville, Tennessee. In both places, he was put in the university to study more math and more science. He was a petroleum engineer with his degree.
What kind of engineer? Petroleum?
And then from there, from Knoxville, Tennessee, he was sent to Oak Ridge. And the first I knew of it was when he called me to send all of his math books to him. And I packed them up and took them down to the post office and told the man, I had an address. He said, "Oh, just a minute, lady." And he goes to look for mail for the zone. Comes back, he says, "There's no city like that." I said, "Yes, sir, there is." "No, ma'am, there is not." I said, "Okay, we'll make a deal. You let me send the books, and if they come back, I'll come down and pick them up. No sweat, okay?" And so that's the way he got them from. And then he tried to convince
Where was he at this point?
He was in Oak Ridge.
Oh, okay.
He's in Oak Ridge.
Excuse me.
And of course, they didn't have any housing and all, so he wanted me to come. And he called, and I said, yes, I'd come. And he was talking. My dad heard us talking, so he got on the phone. He said, "Carl, she isn't coming if we don't know where she is." And I don't know what he told my father, but finally it was, I'm her husband, sinner. So I got on the train. The only time I was ever in New Orleans, I spent 12 hours waiting. But I got there, and so he sent me out to find a house or find an apartment. I came back the second day looking, and I said, "Carl, I've looked at 4 houses, 4 apartments. They all have outhouses, and I'm not living here." Well, we went out on a Sunday, and we found a house in Fountain City that a man had built for his home, but he was making it into apartments. So we got a bedroom and a bath to ourselves and shared a kitchen. Another couple, Army couple, took the other part.
That was pretty good in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got out to Oak Ridge only one time after that. And that was when, if you want to hear it, that was when we were about to leave Oak Ridge. Everybody was getting their discharge. And this dear friend of ours, Bigler, who worked in Extend, anyway, his wife had offered to have all 3 couples come out and spend New Year's Eve with him. So Doris Tiemann lived in the little apartment behind us, so we were going out together. And we were going to take the food, where we had cakes and pies and hams and eggs and bacon. And she had put a couple of bottles of wine and one of liquor down in the bottom of hers. And she told me, she said, now Jane, when we get there, we're going to be checked at the gate. And I said, yeah, I know. And she said, now, if we make it through, I'm going to get off the bus before you. If those bottles break and spill, you walk right around me and keep going so you can tell, and I'll faint, and you can tell Tiemann where I am. And so we had that agreement. But we got through. When he came through, he went through my bag. I was on the end. He took through my bag all the way. He reached over to get hers, and he said, is this all food and you're going to the same place? Okay. And we got by.
They didn't allow whiskey or alcohol?
Oh, not on the base. Not on
right,
the base.
Of course, yeah.
No. And then the other party we had, our kitchen was huge with nothing in it particularly. And so we were having a Halloween party. And the boys were going to pick up the apple cider, fresh apple cider at that time was wonderful. And we're going to pick it up and we would heap it. We had 3 closets, as you would call them. They could have been pantries or all, and nothing in them. So we had plenty of room. So about 3 days before the party, we had the apples, we had the tank to dip them in. We heard about 4 o'clock in the morning, bam, bam, bam. All our cider was running out. The closets that we thought were just empty had the heat ducts in them. But we hadn't known that because we hadn't had the heat on. And so the boys brought us the cider again. And
The cider was fermenting.
yes.
That's why it
yes,
blew up.
With the heat,
Yeah.
Oh, it went up good. But the boys found a vacant lot, and we fixed up a badminton set, and we played badminton on the weekends. We went hitchhiking to different parks and things, and the public was wonderful. They always picked us up. So there's no problem there.
Yeah.
And as you hear me, it was a wonderful time. People were wonderful. We've got acquainted with 5 couples, and every one of them we kept in touch with until 2:05.
2:05.
Then the last girl called, and I heard that she had passed away. But we kept up with all their families. Everybody knew who was having a baby, and birthdays and weddings and so forth.
What did your husband do? What was his work?
He
do you
was
know?
a petroleum engineer, and that was what he came, and that's on his list by his name. And I don't know.
Don't know what.
I truly didn't. I was told not to ask, and
Oh, yes, right.
and
So,
he didn't talk
He
that
never
much
talked
about
about
it
it.
afterwards.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
He left every morning about 6:30, and they had to go we were in Fountain City, which was 5 miles out of Knoxville. They got the bus there, and then they traded to the bus that took them to work.
Oh, so really secret. Yeah. What's the name of the city? Val City?
Fountain,
Want to spell it?
Fountain.
Oh, Fountain. Okay.
Fountain
Okay.
City.
Good.
It's a suburb now. I mean,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
it was a small town then.
I mean, there was a post office and a barber shop and a grocery store, and I think that was it. Or they had a church or two, I think.
I always wondered what happened to the people who lived in that valley when they put in the Oak Ridge installation.
Well, that's a sad story. I had never known that happened. I figured it was all spare land when
Yeah,
they went.
yeah.
But they did disperse many, many families. And I don't know what happened to them.
But was Fountain City, for example, were there a lot of people there, or was it pretty empty?
No, I think there were maybe 3 other houses besides this one that we lived in. And there was a beautiful little lake up there with 3 of the meanest geese you've ever seen. They would attack you every time you went by.
Oh, yes, yes.
And that was on a hill, and the little town was down base.
You said that the big cupboard was empty. Was that because of war rationing? Or was it just...
No, that's another tale. We went to talk to some of the other. There were 2 couples upstairs that had apartments, and one was from Tennessee and one was from Kentucky, and we would play bridge, or we would play what we call hell, which is solitaire. Everybody has their own deck, and you play out. You put your aces out, but anybody can play on that deck. So you get lots of hands slapping. So you come out, and our games would last maybe 2 minutes because it was so fast.
Yeah.
Is we'd have about 12 people playing. And this lady upstairs from Kentucky was very nervous. And she wanted to play very badly, but she'd last about 2 seconds and she'd have a nervous attack. The nicest, I guess, one of the stories you'd like to hear, comes Christmas time. Someone gave us a Christmas tree, but there were no ornaments to be had, so we made our own. And so one of our little boys that we adopted, one of the young guys that didn't have any family here, was going home to Kentucky. So everybody in his barracks and our group gave him a list of what to buy for him. So now he has to go out and come back in and not get caught. Okay, he takes all of the upholstery out of the sides of the car and puts it, comes back in and clears. He delivered everything. But it was interesting in so many ways.
Yeah.
Because I had never run into the blue laws, and the blue laws
Oh,
were in effect at that time.
Yeah. So how
You
did you...
couldn't buy safety pins for babies' diapers on Sunday.
Oh, really? Oh, my.
Really?
Oh, those blue laws. I was thinking about the prohibition kind of laws that Tennessee used to have.
Well, they did have, if we went out to eat and you were allowed to bring a bottle, you brought it in a sack and you put it on the table. And then you ordered your Coke or whatever you want. And then you took your glass and put it down underneath and poured your, it was that strict.
So it was all kind of hush-hush, but it was okay.
Yeah, you don't,
People winked at
Army
you.
boys, they're gonna get by some way.
Yes, of course. Did your husband like his work?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Oh, yes.
Sure.
And it was so cute because these couples that we had, they were in different places. Two of them would be here, two over there, and Carl over here. And so when we'd all pitch in and have picnic lunches or dinners on the weekends, and those guys would be so nice and talking to us and so glad to be with the family until it came to clean up time. But they got so handy to come in and offer to take out the trash. So they would go out to the trash and have their little meeting and switch tales of what was going on. So they knew long ago, you know, what was going on. And then when Carl calls me one day and says, Jane, turn on the radio. I don't want to turn on the radio. Turn on the radio. So I did. Of course, nothing was on. A few days when he called again, he said, turn on the radio now. I don't want to. No. So I did, and that's how I learned. I mean, total way out.
Yeah. What did you think?
Shock.
Yeah.
I mean, absolute shock. I don't think any of us, the war was ending, we knew,
Yeah.
because everybody was talking, you know, that it was getting so close we were gonna get there some way, somehow. And I don't think any of us realized the damage that was done until much later. And then you had two feelings. Either you thought we should or we shouldn't. But I think most of us at that time thought we should have, because it cut it so much shorter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So many people I've talked to said, thank God for the atomic bomb, because they were going to go.
Right.
Where your husband at that point, what was he? Was he discharged quickly, or was he?
No, they discharged him in different, I guess it was, he was discharged about the time that he went in.
Yeah.
So
it's based on his day of enlistment.
I guess.
Yeah, probably was. And how did you occupy yourself during that period? What did you do?
Well, one day I had to go out to the Oak Ridge to get my wisdom teeth taken out. Now, Carl had had his taken out a couple of weeks before, and he really suffered. They had to work and work. So he was worried about me, so he got permission to come home to see how I was. And he found me stretched out on the bed with Forever Amber, in case you ever heard of it.
I know.
I was eating an apple. He wasn't pleased.
Oh, you're eating an apple.
He wasn't pleased at all.
Oh no! Wow.
No,
Did you work during the war, or?
well, I applied for dental work because I had worked for my family dentist. And they weren't pleased. I had only made a salary of $15 a week. And she thought I didn't know anything,
Oh.
you know, by
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
That, so, no, they wouldn't take me. And then, too, I had gone and I forgot that everybody needed a badge, and I had no badge. It was easy getting in on the bus when I told them I had an appointment to see, and then getting out was something else again.
Yeah.
So Carl was sort of provoked that time too, because I hadn't told him I was going to do that. When Carl got there, they had a whatever they call them in the Army. They got him up at 6:30, and they had to march and
Yes.
exercise.
Yes.
And so this went on, and the guy was really rough on all of them. And so one day they said, okay, we'll take a, thanks, sit down. And so, because all of them were in, you know, Fort Oak Ridge, which they didn't know. This was at the University of Tennessee, and they had this group that were going, but the Army boys that were in the real Army didn't know. And so, anyway, the boys got out there, and they were singing this song, you can make us do this and this and this, but you can't make us think. And it worked. They set the little guy off, and they were happy ever after sleeping in. One day when I went in, I was going to work for my one of the wives that we knew. Didn't feel good, so I went in, and she said, "Now he is awfully nosy, so be careful." And Carl has said, "Don't ever tell anybody what I do or where I am." So I go in and I'm doing my little work and minding my own business, and he's kind of pushing, and I just ignore him and answer whatever comes to my head. And about the second or third day, he comes right out after pushing, comes right out and says, "What does your husband do out there?" And just like this, I said, "He's a plumber." And I get home and Carl says, "Could you have said I was a master plumber?" I felt sorry for him when I realized what I'd said, but it just came out.
Yes,
You know, you have to practice those things.
Yeah,
Because it's just,
yeah.
it comes.
Otherwise, right. Oh, was that a burden? It must have been a burden to be constantly having to kind of sort.
Well, I was so afraid that I'd say something wrong, you know.
Yeah.
No, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Wonderful.
Can you tell the story about him hearing the thing on the radio and the guys following him for a week?
I did tell him about turning on the radio.
No, turning on the radio when Dad heard the story on the radio that he wasn't supposed to hear.
Oh, that was a horrible experience. One night, I was asleep, and Carl, I guess, was having a hard time going to sleep. He was awake. And about 12:30, on the radio, some announcer was blabbing about things that shouldn't have been blabbed. And Carl sat straight up and he says, "Oh my God, I've got to get to the officer in charge." And he called, and the guy didn't think it was necessary for him to come in. So he got up early the next morning and went in and was finally taken to the right person. And they kept him all day long. He got home about 7 o'clock at night, and he was white as a sheet. And I said, "What happened?" He said, "I have been interrogated all day long." And he said, "Now, I want to tell you, I may be court-martialed, and if I am, you're to go straight home, okay?" And he gave me the money then to get a ticket, and nothing happened for about, I'd say 3 or 4 days. And then he was called in again, and they had followed what he had said he'd heard, and they found the guy that had done it. And I guess, I haven't heard anybody that's heard from him, but, you know, you don't know what happened.
But they blamed Carl for what this guy,
Well, they wanted to know, they
where he heard that.
connected
Yeah.
Carl, you know, why was he listening or something?
Yeah,
I don't know what
yeah.
it was, but anyway, for about a week, we had an FBI guy following us. He thought we didn't know, but Carl recognized that he was following us, you know. But then that's the last we heard of it.
Huh.
But Carl was really just white sheep.
Oh, yeah.
And that is, I mean, when you're going to be court-martialed, you think
Yes,
twice.
sure. So after the war, where did you guys live?
Well, that's another one. One of the young fellows knew that Carl wanted to get back in the business, and he said, "My uncle just called me and said he's got a job with a oil company that is opening up the West." And Carl said, "Who is it?" So he called the oil company, and the guy interrogated him on the phone, told him he sent him a ticket, which he did, and the next week, Carl went to Tulsa, got a job, came back home, we got discharged. We go home, and we're there a week because he got discharged on about the 20th, and we were to be in Billings on the 23rd.
Oh,
So we left Billings, and his mother said, Carl was so lucky. He got to stay on this side during the war, and now he's going to do foreign duty. And she believed it hard.
foreign duty meaning Montana?
Montana. She was sure that once the snow came, you closed the doors and lit the fire, and that was it.
Yes, yes.
But we moved up there and lived there for 14 years. And then guess where they transferred us? Back to Texas.
No.
That's what I had told Carl. I didn't want to live in Texas. I had had enough of Texas. But we had a wonderful growing up.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at that time, there were no jealous for him
No.
in Texas.
The Texas oil had,
He was in oil.
yeah, yeah.
And he had all of Montana and 9 other states.